One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Doug McNamee. Doug is currently the president of the family of companies that we all know as Magnolia. Greetings, Doug. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Ty. Honored to be with you.
Doug, I've known you a long time. We both kind of made our bones as graduate assistants back in the days here at Baylor in the sport management programs. I am happy to see you progressing in where you've gone, blooming where you planted, spent a whole lot of time here at Baylor, in Waco, and now you're working for one of the biggest brands that we see in terms of growing and its reach and influence. I think it's a wonderful thing.
So I know I've made it when I finally got an invitation to be on your podcast. I couldn't do it in like 15 years of being in college athletics. So I figured, well, if I changed my job and got out of college athletics, maybe one day my buddy Ty would have me on the podcast.
I haven't been doing it that long, though. You got to give me a pass here. You know, I used the phrase that you're the president of the family of companies that we all know as Magnolia, or just Magnolia. Can you tell us about the structure of all the companies that are involved in Magnolia?
Absolutely. They're probably most known for their home remodeling and design aspect of what Chip and Joanna do because of the TV show and the fame that they earn from that. But they've built quite a large organization here in Waco. You've got, restaurants, you've got the bakery, you've got vacation rentals. There's obviously the retail, which has a very large brick and mortar store here in Waco, but then also online. And there's partnerships like what you see in a Target, other examples like our paint line, wallpaper, etc. Then you also have our print media, so books. There's been numerous bestsellers that Chip and Jo have authored. She's got one of the most sold cookbooks in the history of anything printed. And then you have a tremendous magazine, which is one of the most popular magazines out there, the Magnolia Journal, which is produced largely by our team here in Waco.
Right. Well, it's bigger than either you and I could describe, and I'm probably, you know the insides and the outsides of it. Of course, you worked in athletics, right? We met as grad students here in sport management, and you progressed to the position of Senior Associate Athletics Director for External Affairs at Baylor University, and you end up in a leadership role. You worked in development. Of course, you led Baylor's when it was ISP, moved over to IMG, then moved over into actually fundraising. So revenue generation was a big thing. Talk to me about how that previous experience, sales, development, and leadership translate into your current role. And would you say that those are skills that would translate to industries outside of college athletics?
Yeah, I think this experience of moving outside of college athletics has given me the opportunity to really appreciate the knowledge and the growth that being in college athletics provided for me. To learn how to sell on the sponsorship world and in the ISP, IMG world was just a great gift to me because you've got to be able to prove you can generate and raise revenue. And so to start out of school learning that and getting great training and getting to cut my teeth in a business where you either put up or shut up in terms of generating revenue was awesome. And just the transfer into athletics and seeing the way that college athletics works and the reality that you got to have funds and money to drive the programs to provide that great student-athlete experience. There's really smart people, really talented people throughout college athletics. And to be successful, you've got to be really, really good. And so I could not have asked for a better professional growth line and direction than what college athletics provided me.
Right. Do you find yourself in situations referring to past experiences in terms of that you will call on to solve problems?
For sure. I mean, I use the expression, I was trained early in the ISP days, taking people to the ugly pond, which in sales terminology we were taught was like if you got somebody that was like a maybe, take them to the ugly pond, either force them to a no or make them realize that they actually did want to do a deal with you. And so I've just learned that helping to articulate where somebody wants to go in terms of a conversation, or just do they want to work with you or not. There's so many examples. That's one small one, but there's so many parts of working in the world of athletics and the competitive nature that business brings about is such a valuable skill that I use. I feel like there's something I'm doing every single day at work where I'm like, I picked that up at this point in my college athletics career, whatever it was it that it might be along the 15-year period. There's stuff all the time that I feel like I'm using.
Now, your role as president, of course, in athletics, the term that was used, for the last decade is you come in and you're working in silos, right? You do, which is right, ironic.
Yeah.
But you got your role, and that's your role. Do your role to the best you can, and then you'll move up to whatever leadership position. So now you're leading people. I wonder about your role as president. Is there a specificity, or you just have your hands in everything here at Magnolia?
It's a lot about just alignment and getting the right people in the right chairs. My job isn't to make the decisions; it's to ensure that all the right relevant parties are at the table to make the decisions, and then to expedite the conversation so that we indeed arrive at a decision. You got to get really smart people that are surrounding you, that are really specialized in certain areas, and so you got to be a generalist to be able to have a good, I think, baseline understanding of a lot of different things. But the most important skill set is to hire smarter people than you and put them in spots where they can make the decisions that are necessary.
So just overall leadership, right?
Yeah.
Help the company continue to move forward.
Identify talent, find really talented people that can help your organization and pull them up from within your organization, or go find them from elsewhere and place them in the right spots. But yeah, it's and I think it's a matter of steadying the ship. It's keeping you from getting too high at moments when a couple things go your way, and keeping you from getting too low when maybe there's a few days in a row where things from a sales standpoint don't hit where you're expecting them to.
Right. Now, external affairs. You were leading 25, 30. How many people were you leading?
About 40, 50 people were in the external side, yeah.
External affairs. Now you're president over Magnolia. In 4 years, what has this company gone from 2 people on a TV show? And you know what? Before we even continue, you were their first customer on Fiction.
First, yeah. Episode, right? We were the first episode. That's the truth of the matter is that's the only reason I'm in the job I am, because basically I managed to convince Chip that, hey, if this thing really gets big, you have to repay me by giving this opportunity. Right. 5 years later. No, we were lucky enough to be the first couple on the first pilot episode of Fixer Upper, but our company has grown in 4 or 5 years from when the show first started. There were 20 or 30 employees. Right. To now it's almost 800. And so, yeah, it's a people just, they don't recognize probably how large of a company and organization that the Gaines have built. But yeah, it's a massive, massive company.
I would imagine it's the structure, I guess. Is there a senior leadership, tell me about how you, and did you have a hand when it came in? Did you have to restructure some things to fit your style? Or?
We tweaked some stuff just, I think, to get the group that we needed to get at the table. But there is what we refer to as a leadership team, and it consists of there's 8 executives, and then there's 4 additional members of that team. And it's the group that's responsible to serve in a leadership role and to speak into all aspects of the company and to ensure that the vision and the direction that are provided to us by our founders and owners, Chip and Joanna, are executed on a regular basis.
So the brand Magnolia, widely known, I liken it from the outside looking in to somewhat similar to college athletics. You mentioned the skills and the things you learn that you translate and you call upon when you have to make decisions and deal with challenges. But just a brand as big. Anywhere I go in the country, and I talk to people and tell them I live in Waco, they ask if I know Chip and Joanna. I say, no, but I do know a guy who works there, though. How does that vast brand, the vast brand awareness, the vast brand, which is Magnolia, how does that factor into some of the decisions you have to make, whether they be on a grand scale or even on a small scale in terms of day-to-day operations? How do you keep that in mind? And similar to athletics, right? You have your fans and your donors, but tell me how do you guys operate in terms of that, knowing how big?
Yeah, so it's obviously very public. The brand of the couple that's so popular and well followed is Chip and Joanna. Our brand is very prominent, so therefore you have to understand that everything you do is in a public format. Similar to college athletics, who's, Baylor had 19 intercollegiate athletic teams that competed with so many different entities underneath the Magnolia umbrella. You've got a lot of groups that are doing things, in different areas, and you've got to ensure that there's continuity and synergy across the board, even though there's significant difference between real estate and food, as an example. So for us, it's just a matter of ensuring that there is a consistent voice. The voice that the brand carries is important. It has to be consistent across the board, no matter where it shows up, whether that be in a book or whether that be in a social media post. And ensuring that we stay on brand, both in our voice and the look and the feel of the brand, and that we maintain a dialogue and a conversation with our guests that they can depend on, and it can be reliable and it can be consistent. And we keep our values as a company centered and continue to operate based on the principles that have been laid out for us by our owner. Right. Our owners is kind of the same guiding principles that you do in a college athletic setting, where you've got your mission statement and you've got a very clear core values, and you ensure that everything you do aligns with that. And as long as you're following that path and ensuring that you're matching everything up with that, you can find success.
Are those spelled out very well in terms of, it's a young company, but in terms of the guiding principles that you have?
It is. We've certainly they've refined it. We've refined it here even recently, but they're really, I think, born from the identity of which Chip and Joe founded the company. Right. And they've really set those core values and establish what we are as a company and what our purpose is. And so, it's I think one of our tasks ahead is to ensure that those are ingrained in every aspect of our business, not just what might be forward facing, but the entire employee life cycle, from the moment we go out and recruit employees to the moment that they decide that they're ready to retire or leave that job, just ensuring that they are treated with those values and that they understand it and they treat our guests. So I would say it's definitely ingrained within our culture, but we can continue to do it even more, and we'll need to do that to move forward.
You mentioned the guiding principles, which I liken to core values that we always hear athletic directors talk about. Tell me a little bit about how that manifests itself within Magnolia brand.
Yeah, so two things I would share. One is our manifesto, which is about a 100-word kind of statement that describes who we are and what we believe. You find that in every one of our Magnolia journals. The manifesto is spelled out and written out, and it's, I would say, really powerful. Articulation of what our company stands for and what we strive to believe in. Our purpose statement is do good work that matters. And so that's what we ask our employees to ensure that they're doing every day. At the end of the day, did you do work that matters? And was it good? And did you treat people the right way? And so that's our kind of that's our publicly driven purpose statement as a company. So those two things really guide us and are both public and they are, I think, an accurate depiction of who we want to be as a company.
Do good work that matters, a simply stated purpose statement to guide the organization. Excellent. I ask one more question relative to your role, and then I want to ask a little bit about Joanna and Chip Gaines, right? In terms of your transition from college athletics to the corporate world, to president, to a leadership role where you have 800 people reporting to you, talk to me about some of the challenges you faced when you made that transition, and if you are still facing any challenges.
Oh, for sure. And I've made plenty of mistakes. I've probably done plenty of things wrong that hopefully I've already learned from some of those. So one of the values that we have and one of the things we talk about is failing smarter. Right. And setting up a culture where failure isn't frowned upon, but it's actually encouraged if you build and you grow stronger from it. And so that has to be something that I apply to myself as well. But in terms of just the immediate challenges, I think it's just acknowledging there's just such a diverse set of businesses that we carry, and have had to really get up to speed fast in a lot of different things. But then again, that's similar to what you face in college athletics, and so that's been something that has been a challenge. I think for us as a company, as a 3, 4, 5, we're still in the infancy stages as a company, and so much of what we did in the meteoric growth that the company experienced, and the people who came before me deserve all the credit, was they just opened the doors and served people that came in the masses, and did it in a first class way that ensured those people wanted to continue to come back. But driving traffic and attention wasn't an issue. It was ensuring that they had a great experience, which they did a great job of. As we've grown, like any company, there's a little bit of a plateau probably associated with the intensity of foot traffic and people following your brand. And so for us, it's been in the maturity process of our company, it's understanding how we now get processes in place to ensure that the structure's there to serve all the guests and to serve our employees. It's to kind of take this moment to catch your breath, to stabilize the ship, to ensure that everything's built strong, so that as we continue to grow and go through more, meteoric rises as our brand will grow, that we're prepared and we have the infrastructure in place to support it.
Almost like we're building. Let's exist where we are for a moment to make sure we're doing things right, and then we continue.
Yeah. And this year for us, we use internally the kind of slogan, "Getting our house in order." Right. I mean, that's what it is about for us. Is that when you have grown as quickly as this company has grown, it's natural to assume that there's going to be some hiccups and there's going to be some moments of reset where we've just got to readjust and realign, and that's what this year is providing, this opportunity.
Well, I'll wrap with a couple questions about Joanna and Chip. They've cultivated an environment. I usually wrap the podcast by saying the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And if you've ever been in Waco and you go past the bakery over there, the silos, or you go past the Magnolia table, or even anything else that has branched off from Joanna and Chip, you see that they've definitely created an environment that people want to be a part of. And I think what we're just talked about is maintaining that environment so people want to keep coming back. In terms of the internal culture, and you've touched on a little bit of this, but for them specifically, what are their leadership styles? When they brought you on, now you're on the inside, you can see the warts we have, you can see the things that are not straight. Are they open to feedback? Are they open to creativity? Do you challenge them if there's something that you see that could be possibly going in the wrong direction? Tell me about their leadership styles as a group, and what roles do they play actually?
Sure. So they are the CEOs, co-CEOs of the company, and they provide the vision and the direction, and that's authentic. They are very open and very receptive to feedback, and I think that's ultimately the greatest sign of any leader, is the willingness to accept feedback from below, in a healthy way. And they are fantastic about that. They recognize, not that I've got all the answers. I've got plenty of feedback that's needed to be delivered to me from both them and below. But they are really, really, really open and willing to take experiences from other folks and to make them better. So that was really something that I identified in the early conversations about taking this opportunity, is that they were open to dialogue, open to feedback, open to healthy conflict, and that was encouraging. I mean, their leadership styles. They're the CEOs and founders of a company that went from a handful of folks to 800 people, and they're known by all, and they don't go to the grocery store now without getting a massive crowd of folks. So, like, to prepare for that and to do anything that gives you that preparation is hard. Like, there's nothing you can really do to prepare for it. They were smart in that they have a Baylor degree, like you and I both do, but they're really great about pouring in when they need to, and giving the guidance that they need to, and pulling back when they don't. And they're not micromanagers. Joanna is the really the inspiration. She is the brilliance behind so much of the product and the visual aspect of the company. And Chip's just a dreamer. I mean, he is the guy that's coming up with the big picture concepts that everybody else doesn't think is possible, and he figures out a way to make it happen. And so they provide great examples for us, but they also provide a healthy environment where you can go and chase big ideas and make things happen. and they are authentic. I mean, they are who they appear to be. Everybody sees them on TV and thinks, oh, they're probably real nice on TV, but then you get them in person and they're the opposite. I would tell you that the TV doesn't probably adequately do a good job of showing how good of people they are. And at their core, I would argue there's nobody better than them, and they care about their guests, they care about their employees, and they are people who we're fortunate to get to work for.
I'll wrap with this last question for you about those two. They've, you have your TV show. You've grown the company in 4 or 5 years. You've known them from the beginning. I would imagine. From what I understand about great leadership is there's always a constant evaluation. And from what you know about them, how do they evaluate their success? For somebody who's running a business, it can't just be about how many people come to our, it's a business, so bottom line is important, but how do leaders like that, and then even bringing you on as a leader, tell me how you guys evaluate the success at what you're doing.
Yeah, well, they are very grounded, and money is not a determining factor for them in terms of success. They, at the end of the day, want to be able to say that they took advantage of every opportunity that was provided to them and maxed it to its utmost capacity, and they want that for their employees as well. I think they measure success. Did we try everything we could? Did we evaluate every option? Did we exhaust every channel we could to ensure that we came with the most information and the best decision possible? And as long as we did that, at the end of the day, that will determine success in their mind. It won't be, did we make the most money? Did we get the most people here? Did we build the biggest company? It's about making a difference in the lives of our employees, making a difference in the lives of our guests that come to see us. There's a clear sense of mission and purpose that is about treating people the right way. I mean, our purpose statement is do good work that matters. And they live that, and they treat their employees that way, and they expect us to treat our guests that way. And that ultimately determines the success.
Well, Doug, it sounds like you are in a good situation. Of course, I've watched you go from when we were in ethics class debating to now as president and everything in between. And I think you've done good, and Joanna and Chip are lucky to have you on as their president. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm grateful to call you a friend.
That was Doug McNamee. He's the president of the family of companies that we all know as Magnolia. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.